You know, I've decided I'm still just a kid at heart. Today when I woke up, when I thought of doing my hair, I'm like, I want my hair in pigtails. So I put in pigtails. I was getting ready to put on some makeup, and I looked at, my stuff. And I see the Star Wars mascara. I'm like, I only want to wear Star Wars mascara today. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I did. So I've just decided sometimes I am 5 years old, and that's okay. Good morning, friends. How are you on this lovely Monday? I'm sorry my uploads didn't really get up last week. Last week was crazy. I totally just shut down and didn't function some days. It was just a rough week. So I apologize for not having videos up, but today I have a spectacular video for you. Today I am doing a review of Uprooted by Naomi Novik. If you don't know what this is about, let me just do a little brief introduction of what it's about. So this is the story of Agnieszka, and she grew up in this little village that's protected from what they call the wood by this man named the Dragon. He's a wizard. He's been around many, many moons, and every 10 years takes the girls who are 17, and he takes one of them to come and work as his servant. After the 10 years, they're released, and they're given back to their village, but these girls don't end up staying in the village. They end up moving on to bigger and better things. They come out different after living with the dragon. So Agnieszka and her friend Kasia, or Kasia. I had a friend growing up named Kasia that spelled it the same way, so I never know how to pronounce it, if it's Kasia or Kasia. I've seen and heard both, so I'm just going to go with Kasia. So Agnieszka and Kasia grew up together thinking that Kasia was the one who was going to be picked by the dragon when they turned 17. So when the harvest time and the choosing ceremony happened, Agnieszka was surprised when the dragon chose her. The dragon chose her for specific reasons, which I'm not going to get into because those are spoilery. But Agnieszka goes to live with the dragon for 10 years. The way everything plays out in this book is wonderful. All of the characters, I felt like there could have been a little more fleshing out of some of the characters. But outside of that, this book was really, really quite fantastic. I gave it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It took me a little while to get into this one. Then again, I had just come off reading Winter when I started this one. So I was riding the winter high, the end of the Lunar Chronicles, and then I started this. I think it was just bad timing for me to start it, but I'd been itching to start it. I knew I wanted to read it. So I didn't put it down a lot. It took me about 10 days to read this one. It's only about 400 pages, as opposed to the 800 it took me like 36 hours to read. Winter, that includes sleeping and working and functioning and all of that. So this was just, it was a different feel to the book. It was a different kind of read. It's all kind of based in Russia, in a regress society of Russia. The way the wood was a really interesting, the wood itself was a character, and it was a very interesting and intriguing storyline. So if you have not read Uprooted, I would turn it off now. If you have read it, feel free to stay tuned. I am going to get a little spoilery because I feel like I need to talk about a couple things, but I don't want to spoil you if you haven't read it. So if you have not read it, please turn it off. Alright, so back to Uprooted. I loved the way the magic system came out with Agnieszka. I loved that she wasn't afraid to be herself as she was learning to do magic. That made such a huge and phenomenal difference for her and for the wood and for the dragon. Like, all of that, she was a completely different character. In that regard, the way the magic had been done and performed for so many years was rigid, and it felt wrong to her. And she wasn't afraid to do what felt right to her. And I think that it just made me happy, because in so many ways, this book is all about being yourself and learning new things. And I loved that aspect of it. The aspect of the kingdom and the queen coming out of the wood, and Kasia coming out of the wood, and it was phenomenal. It really I love the way the entire story played out. Having the wood get into the kingdom the way it did was wonderful, and having the queen be representing the queen of the wood, and I love how it wrapped up with Agnieszka getting to see how they lived and things like that. It meant a lot for me to see that and to understand that, I guess. I really did enjoy this book. It did take me a minute to get into it, but once I got into it, it went really quick. And I enjoyed this so much. If you have not read this, well, if you're in this part, you've probably read it, unless you don't mind spoiling yourself. If you have not read this, I highly recommend reading it. It was a fantastic read. It was beautiful. It wasn't overly sexual. It wasn't swearing overly either. So it was just really nice balance. And I really enjoyed how Agnieszka and the dragon's relationship played out. The part with the prince in the beginning, I knew it was going to be important, and I love how all of that played out. Where she just, said the spell and was in this beautiful fancy dress, and he's like, oh, you're a witch! And just kind of freaked out about it. So I just loved how that ended up playing out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please come back and see me again. I'm hoping to pre-record a few things so that I can still continue to upload while I'm out of town. I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic Monday. Bye!